Heroes of German Riesling allow us to interview and discuss and to taste some of my favorite wines, arguably some of the greatest wines in the German Riesling business. And we would be remiss not to have an opportunity to talk about Selbach Oster. And I'm very pleased to introduce the group here today to Johannes Selbach, owner, winemaker of Selbach Oster, sitting in the town of Schonau at this moment. How are you this morning, Johannes?
Ian, I'm very well. Good morning to Los Angeles, but this is actually good evening on the Mosel. you, you're getting the evening sun behind me.
That's right.
Uh,
This wine represents everything that I love about great Riesling, and I think it should be the ambassador for great Riesling. How do you think about that, Johannes?
make my day. Totally, totally agree. I mean, as you know, and many of you know, Riesling is a grape that it's one of the few grapes that can do all styles from bold and dry to sweet. And the key is balance. The key is great grapes from a great site and somebody who knows what he's doing. And it can make fantastic dry wines. It can make fantastic sweet wines. And the key is balance. And it's the yin and yang of fruit and acidity that make these wines sing and literally also zing. And this is why the sweetness is never a cloying or thick sweetness, but rather a luscious, mouth-watering, like biting into fresh fruit.
This vineyard is the key to this wine. It is in Zelting, is
Yep.
the name of the town, and the
Setting is the
vineyard
town. Yep.
designation is Schonau, yeah?
Sonnenuhr means sundial, and in the old days, uh, the sundials or Sonnenuhr were put in the sunniest spots because in the old days you either had the church bells or you had a sundial, but nobody had an Apple Watch or a clock or people just listened to the church bells or you saw when the sun shone you could tell the time. That's so.
So we go inside. We're in the Mosel,
Yep.
and we've circled the approximate area that we're visiting.
Yes.
And
This
we're
is the
looking at slate hillsides here. Yes.
Correct. Correct. The Mosel meanders or winds like a snake through an ancient mountain range, which was formed some 400 million years ago. It's actually a former ocean floor of a shallow tropical sea, and the sediment, which was compressed over millions of years, it looks like a wafer. It was folded up. And because it's brittle, the river could easily cut into it. And that's why we have this valley with a deep valley with steep slopes, and the slopes are exposed because the river has washed away or gnawed away all the fertile soil, and basically there's barren rock and the roots go into the rock, and this is why we have very low yields, but we have high concentration of flavors and we get fantastic aromatic expression with a relatively light package of alcohol, which is unique in the world of wines.
Spectacular. So 1661.
Yes,
Amazing.
actually, we now have records down to 1600, so it's two generations more. But yeah, it's a little over 400 years that we have, shall we say, records of our family being involved in making alcoholic beverages using grapes. Actually, also shipping wines. And while this may seem like it's old, the region where we are located is a very, very old wine growing region, and many people who have their roots here have been doing it for many, many generations, and we are one of them.
What generations are you in now?
We are probably the 17th. Our son is the 17th generation. We are father, mother, son, actually, at the moment, and a small team who are farming, growing the grapes, making the wines, and also selling them.
Picture of
This
you
is
and your son
this
at
is father and son, and this is in the Sonnenur vineyards above the River Mosel, and you can see this is the old Roman method of trellising because it's so steep and so rocky. You can't put up a modern wire trellis, but you rather ram a very long pole into the ground, which is quite a piece of work, and you train the vine along that long pole so you get enough foliage for photosynthesis. You can find this still in our area in the Mosel River, and if you go to France, you go to the Rhone, you find it in the Côte Rôtie, same system.
Beautiful. Oh, I went the wrong direction. Here's a picture from the top of that vineyard.
This is the very place where the wine comes from that we taste. The first picture, you can see golden grapes. The grapes are very small. The bunches are small. The berries are pea size, so very, very small, thick skin, a lot of seeds, not so much juice, but that means very concentrated juice with a lot of flavor. What you see in front is shimmering like silvery gray. That's what we call Devonian slate. This is the rock that was formed 440 to 400 million years ago and then folded up. And you can see it breaks very easily, and it's a lot of chipped rock, and the roots have a chance to actually wiggle down deep down. And the vineyard below, some of the vines are more than 100 years old, and the root system goes 13 meters. That's almost 40 feet deep into the rock.
Amazing. And you can see how steep that is. Some sites you actually have to enter from the top, kind of come down into them.
And you can see the second picture is looking up, and this vineyard is like what the French call a clos. You see cliffs on top, with a bush hanging over one of the cliffs, and down below, what you can't see, but you see it in the first picture, is the river with a wide water surface which reflects the sunlight into the slope. So it's a heat trap, and it produces fantastic grapes year in, year out. This gives you another angle. We're looking upstream also from the Sonnenur vineyard, and you see the village of Wehlen, which also is famous for Wehlener Sonnenur, same sundial vineyards in the distance. And the picture to the right is taken from the other, from the other side of the river on into the Sonnenur slope. Steep, a lot of outcroppings of rocks, and you're looking at the Rotlei vineyard right here in the middle. You see the cliffs to the right, above, and to the left. That's the place where this wine comes from. Correct, right there.
Spectacular. They look very happy.
Say very steep, no road access. Everything is done by hand.
How many hectares are under your control?
24 hectares. That's times 2.4, so it's like 55 acres total. And this is a view from the Sonnenur slope to the adjacent Schlossberg slope, and you can see our little hometown, the village of Zeltingen. And this is a picture that's taken in about, I would say, the 3rd or 4th week of October. It's just about turning color.
You can see how the shadows and the sun reflection and intensity there.
Yep.
So this wine is one of many that you bottle. How many different bottlings do you make in an average?
Way too many if you ask my wife, but we are, my son and I, and then my late father and I are wine geeks. So we make more than we should, because we think every barrel that's special should get its own bottling. And so we end up making at least 36 different bottlings per year.
With the 2019 that we're trying today, and we'll have a very successful tasting, a spectacular presentation. The audience is going to be thrilled after tasting this. Ashley, you can have botrytized fruit in small quantities, yes?
Correct. And thank you for bringing this up, because what makes this wine special, and I forgot, I should have said that right from the start. This is not just an Auslese, which means bunch selection, but this is an Auslese from our very best piece of land. And in this case, we make an exception. We don't graze. We pick the whole vineyard in one picking run, and that includes all the grapes, also the greener grapes that are thicker skinned and have a little bit more acidity. And that's why this wine has such a almost an electricity between fruit and acidity, because the greener grapes with more acidity are left in the batch and come home with the super ripe grapes, and that also includes some botrytis. If the vintage yielded some botrytis, obviously those are part of the mix. So in this, the 2019 that we're tasting, there's about, I would say, between 5 and 10% botrytized grapes. In the 20, it's maybe 5% botrytized grapes, and in the 21, it's again 5 to 10%. And the botrytis adds complexity, but it doesn't add honey. It is not a big rich botrytis, but rather it's a seasoning, not just a flavor.
Complexity. And I'm just overjoyed. You're a fantastic communicator, and really, I wish all producers had the passion that you have and the ability to communicate that. So thank you very much.
You're
This
very
is a
welcome.
spectacular photo. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at actually the Sonnenur slope. You see that little triangle in the black triangle in the distance is the ruin of an old castle was destroyed in the 1200s and never rebuilt. So it's a big chunk of slate sitting on slate rock, which looms over the vineyards. That's in the Sonnenur vineyard, and the view here is beautiful. It's taken from the Schlossberg vineyard. It's a late October morning. You see the morning mist from the river, which actually helps botrytis to develop, and then obviously the church steeple, and it's a beautiful, beautiful scenery. It's an early morning picture. And we're looking east, southeast. This is another picture looking upstream from the Sonnenur vineyard towards the village of Grach. And this is a summer photo, and you see it has just a thunderstorm moved through, and the roads are glistening from the rain that made them wet. It's a beautiful picture, and it gives you an impression of how steep the slopes are.
So here's our wine that we're tasting today. We're at around $80 for the 19 vintage. The successive vintages will be a little bit more. 2021 increase in prices with everything that's happening in the world. I would argue this would, as one of the greatest wines of German Riesling, to be one of the greatest, and to be a price point that you could afford to drink on a special occasion is quite a value. And
you won't be disappointed, I promise you that.
yeah, and it could age gracefully with you for the rest of your life. So
absolutely
great
guarantee.
ambassador.
Yep.
Ambassador.
However, I do recommend pull the cork and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Nature will provide for more.
You don't want to just be a collector. We want to be consumers, and we will find more occasions. So
I'll drink to that.
Well, pleasure to spend this time with you. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
look forward to seeing you in Germany.
Please come, and everybody stay healthy, enjoy a good time, have a glass of Riesling once in a while. Cheers.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time, and thank your son as well. We'll see you on an upcoming tour.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.